All right, so we are getting into the thick of things. We are starting with the Coursera Learning How to Learn course. And if you come up to the course itself, it's got 4 modules. So we're going to break it down module by module like the course did. So in the first module, we're looking at what is learning. So we've got 54 minutes of video, readings, and graded assignments. So they talk about focused versus diffuse thinking, procrastination, memory, and sleep. Pretty short and concise. So I'm going to dive in here and go through it and let you know what I find out once I get done. All right, so I just wrapped up Module 1 in the Coursera course Learning How to Learn by Dr. Barbara Oakley. So I'm just going to run through what we covered in the first module and what I found useful, what I thought was worthwhile. The first concept they bring up is the concept of diffuse versus focused modes of thinking. So the idea is that there's 2 different modes of thinking. One is used for very concise, process-driven thinking. So think of math equations, think of recipes. You're working through something very tightly according to the instructions. And diffuse modes of thinking, you're more creative, your thinking is flowing more freely, you're able to connect different concepts, different subjects. There's even example used by different thinkers who used to hold something solid in their hand as they doze off to sleep, because when you doze off to sleep, that's when your diffuse modes of thinking kick in. But once you wake up from that, a lot of times you forget what you're thinking about. So they'd hold something in their hand, and while they doze off to sleep, they'd eventually drop it, which would wake themselves up. And then they were able to record what they were thinking about before it was forgotten. The idea is just to be aware that there are 2 different types of thinking and be strategic in how to use each different type depending on what type of activity you're looking to accomplish. Procrastination is also addressed. They talk a little bit about the cause of procrastination. They also give a suggestion to use the Pomodoro technique, which is basically you set a timer for 25 minutes, and then after that 25 minutes, you give yourself 5 minutes of a break. So the idea is to break that procrastination. You just got to get started a lot of times. Once you get going for a minute or two, even, you'll break that cognitive resistance to whatever it is that you're trying to do. And you shift your focus from the end result to the process itself. And once you get involved in the process, things start flowing, you warm up, and you break that cognitive resistance to the activity itself. They also talk about the difference between long-term memory and working memory. So a lot of people call it short-term memory, but in this course they refer to it as working memory because it's the memory that you use while you're working on a specific problem at the time. And you're doing accounting. You put a number in your head to transfer it over to another ledger. That's in your working memory. So the idea is that a working memory can only hold about 4 to 5 things at a time. So it's not as effective as your long-term memory, which can hold a vast sum of information. But in order to get that information to the long-term storage, it takes study techniques which get the information from your working memory into long-term memory. What they say is to think of working memory as an ineffective chalkboard that you write things down on it and then it slowly disappears and dissipates over a short period of time. Whereas to think of your long-term memory as a storage facility where you can store things and then access them and retrieve them whenever need be. They also talk about the importance of sleep in the studying and learning process. They say there's microtoxins that fill your brain as you go through your day. These toxins build up in the brain after use, and then the process of sleep washes them away. So they say the effects of sleep are very important for the night before tests in order to perform very well. Sleep also helps chunks solidify within your brain. So it serves a dual purpose of solidifying the information that you learned the day that you're sleeping prior to going to sleep, and it helps you rejuvenate your brain and its functions for the following day. So continuing on in your studies or taking tests or performing different functions. Those are the main concepts that were covered in Module 1 of the course, Learning How to Learn. I thought it was a lot of great concepts. They do seem a bit sporadic. They jump around from topic to topic quite a bit, but overall the information that is provided is pretty valuable. So I'd recommend, if you haven't watched the videos and gone through the course, do so. It's a good idea to set these notions in your mind going into a big process like undertaking the boot camp, because you get yourself orientated on the right path and you get the right ideas about studying fresh in your brain as you dive into it. So definitely worthwhile. The first module isn't as long as the other modules, so it's a good warm-up module and see what it's like in the course. And you can also control the speed at which the videos play back. So if you'd like, I found 1.25 or 1.5 to be optimal, especially for Barbara. She talks a little bit slower, so you can ramp up the speed a little bit on her videos and get through them at a better pace. Those are my recommendations, and hope you enjoy the first module, and we're moving on to the next one.